thing, it seems like he hasn't like dealt with it. Like kebab in America. Anyway, Wonder Bar. The guy was so nice. I think we talked to the owner. He made the sandwiches. He was so nice. I love being in Kentucky where people are just kind. Like, people just talk to you. They're, like, kind to you. They want to see how you're doing. I think I might be struggling with Massachusetts lifestyle more than I thought. Because I also went to a yarn store. It was called Stitch Yarn Studio, and it's like your local yarn store. And I went in and I was like, I want to do this project. And the people there were so nice. The woman helped me pick a yarn. She sold me the needles. She gave me some website recommendations. It's not like you walk in a store and they just ignore you to your face. Big recommend on Stitch Yarn Studio in Covington if you're like a knitter or anything. If you're doing the fiber arts. It was really nice. Last thing, I did in fact read Notes on an Execution. This book I was talking about by Dania Kukowska. It was wonderful. It was a masterpiece. I don't know if I liked it. I don't know. I definitely recommend it. So Notes on an Execution is a story of a man who's getting executed, but it's also told from the perspective of the women in his life. So he is being executed for violence against women, but I would say this is a feminist book in that it doesn't, like, none of the violence is fetishized. Like, we don't read it. It doesn't take place it takes place in the book, but we don't have to read it in the narrative. I definitely gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I think I want to read it again, but did I like it? I want to talk about this book with spoilers. So I'm going to finish the vlog and then I'm going to do that. If you have any interest in reading this book, read it before you listen to anybody talk about it. I think that would be better. Okay. I got to the airport at like 6 a.m. for my 7:30 flight. I just read this book. I actually was able to finish it on the plane, which is a thing that has never happened to me. I always get like seasick. I've never been able to read like on the bus or the train. Maybe I've grown out of it. Maybe I'm an adult. Maybe this book was just so captivating that I had to keep reading, but I'm going to try again. Also, one last bookish thing at the airport is that CVG, the Cincinnati airport, which is actually in Kentucky, had a tiny library that was sponsored by the local public libraries, but it was like like one of those little free libraries. Like you take a book, you drop off a book, just in case you forgot a book at the library. And I walked through and it was so cute. There was seating. It was like well lit. And they had the books split into sections. And the best stocked was like the kids and the teen section, which is what I think you would need at the airport because everybody else, has a cell phone. But I walked through and I didn't see anything I wanted, but I loved the idea. So I didn't take anything. But when I go back, because I am going to Kentucky again this year, I'm going to bring some books to drop off. Because I just think that's such a lovely, wonderful idea. A little free library, but at the airport. Because, like, oh my god, what if you forgot a book for the plane? Have you seen the trend of people raw dogging flights? Like, absolutely not. No, I would grab any book rather than sit there quietly for 4 hours or whatever. This is the end. A 10 out of 10 book trip to Kentucky. I read 4 of my 6 library books, which is just a screaming success. And I got some really new, interesting, exciting books. I love to see it. And the coffee was really good. It was really good. Are there any coffee shops in Boston that you think are good? Because I'm not. Am I too picky? So I want to talk about Notes on an Execution. Is that good? And I think I said it was a masterpiece, and I really think so. The way the story is kind of trickled to the reader, it reads like a thriller, even though you know the whole time what's going to happen. And the writing was really beautiful. And something else, the characters, like there are so many characters that have point of view. So the man, Ansel, who's being executed, he always talks in first person, but every other chapter is told by a woman from his life, and they kind of talk in second person. And it's really, really interesting, but also all those individual women feel like different people. I can't imagine how hard this book was to like storyboard and keep track of. It was really, really good. Again, this is going to be spoilers, so if you're interested in at all, stop watching right now and read it, then come back. And if you want to talk to me about it in the comments, write spoiler and then comment, because I'm dying to talk about this with people. Should I start a book club? It's fine. So I think one of the goals of this book was to persuade people to be against the death penalty. Here's the thing though, I am already against the death penalty. So that aspect didn't really work for me, and also, like, this guy was just so evil that it almost convinced me the other way. Like, every time he seems intent on just doing it again. He doesn't seem to feel remorse. Like, if there was ever a case that maybe rehabilitation isn't for everybody, it was this case. So I really didn't understand that aspect of it. We get the tragic backstory for Ansel, the main character, but it was never enough to excuse murdering 4 people, actually. So maybe I'm not understanding it. Maybe it was pro-death penalty. I don't know about that. But part of that is that this book talks a lot about like single decisions, like these moments in your life where something happens or someone does something that changes the trajectory. And maybe if that didn't happen, the world would be totally different. So Ansel also has this manifesto where he's talking about like multiverse theory and how that happened and stuff. And what's interesting about all of those points in Ansel's life is that it's always a woman making a decision, and it almost felt like the story as presented is suggesting that this horrible man killed 4 women because all of these women in his life failed him. Like, again, this is spoilers. Stop. I don't want to ruin this book for anyone. It was an amazing book. I gave it 5 stars. The backstory is that his mom was like 16. She gets impregnated right away by this abusive guy. He like shelters her on a farm and doesn't let her leave. She has another baby and she runs away. She runs away and calls the police and says, "My kids are there. He's going to kill them." And she takes off. And like, she was a child. Like, that's not her fault. She protected them by calling the police. And it's that, but every moment in his life, like, his foster parents, both of them, are women. You know, his pro bono lawyer is a woman. Like, the security guard who's giving him hope is a woman. And it's just like all of these women, it feels like the book is suggesting that all these women should have made different decisions in order to protect him, but it doesn't talk at all about the men in his life, like his father. What should his father have done? Maybe not starve and beat his wife and Ansel's mother. Like, the what is that called? The warden in the jail is just like, yeah, you don't get a pity party from me. Like, whatever, you killed 4 women. And I'm kind of like, yeah. But it's almost like the book is suggesting that the women should have fixed him. They should have done something different. And all of his mistakes are because, the cop went to the restaurant where Ansel had finally found his family and was like, hey, he killed a bunch of 16-year-olds, so maybe don't keep him around your 16-year-old. And it's just like, she blames herself for that decision. Or when the mom, Ansel's mom, Lavender, she tries to find her 2 sons, and she speaks to one of the adoptive moms of the younger son, and that woman is like, oh, we only took the baby. And the mom is like, you couldn't take both of them? Like, she's blaming them, and it's just, I felt so strange reading this book, because, like, it really highlights how society expects women to be caregivers and caretakers, and women should sacrifice themselves to care for men. And when they don't do that, and that man turns out to be a psychopath that kills 4 women, it's like the woman's fault. It's like how people blame things on single mothers, even though they're the parent that stayed. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if that was intentional. I wonder if the author was forcing me to reflect on the role of women in society as caregivers and how, like, the men did nothing. The men didn't care about this guy, and he kills 4 women and blames women for every bad thing in his life. But it's like, where is your father, sir? It has to have been intentional. That's why I called it a masterpiece. It really made me think about the role of women in society and how our sacrifices, how our expectations, like, are turned around and blamed on us when we like fail at that, even though it's not us. We didn't do that, and I'm mad at it. I guess I want to read this book again. I don't think it's one of those ones I would reread. Like, I did love it. I gave it 5 stars, but it's not like a favorite book. I think one of the elements of enjoying it so much was the fact that I didn't know what was going to happen. It was kind of written like a thriller, but I do want to reread it at least one time because maybe I missed something. Like, was it supposed to do that to me? Was that the point? But I mean, that's why I love reading books. Please, if you've read this book, what do you think? Leave me a comment. Let me know. Okay, now the vlog is over. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today I will teach you how to find your girlfriend model using her AI in just 3 seconds.